Hey, what's up, y'all? How you guys doing? Hope y'all are having an amazing evening. Going to be doing a Q&A for those of y'all trying to get into PT school. So let's see here. I'm gonna try to see if we can get Casey Coleman on. If we can do that, that'd be super cool. All right. So let's see. So we're actually trying for the first time to do two of us on here live at the same time. We've never done that before on IG. Sorry, on TikTok. We do it on Instagram. So if it works, cool. If it doesn't work, no worries. We'll answer your questions. So we have a few of y'all here live. Great to have you guys. Let me know if y'all can hear me. Let me know if y'all can hear me. And then what questions do y'all have? If you're applying to PT school, let me know below what questions you have regarding the application process, questions about your journey. Let me know, and we will knock them out here tonight. Um, perfect. Excellent. All right. So let's see. All right. So if it doesn't work, no worries at all. So, this is actually the first time that I've hopped on here live. Usually I'm on IG, but wanted to make sure y'all were taken care of. So I hope y'all have been enjoying the value that has been on this page. If you're a pre-physical therapy student, if you're not a pre-PT, welcome here as well. But y'all, this is the heat, right? This is like when everyone's trying to apply, so we want to make sure that you guys are taken care of. So, if you guys have questions, like where are you guys stuck when it comes to whether it's low GPA, whether it's GRE, whether it's application things, schools, questions that you guys have, we're gonna spend this time tonight to make sure that you are well taken care of and that we're able to direct you. So, for those of y'all that don't know, as I'm waiting for questions, my name is Joseph. I'm a physical therapist. I am one of the co-creators or co-founders of Pre-PT Grind. And what we do is we help y'all get into PT school without wasting time or money. And so we just love doing things like this to just answer questions, because I know it gets nerve wracking, right? So when we were pre-PTs, this time of the year was pretty stressful, because like, man, like I'm trying to make sure everything is perfect, or if I'm applying again, it's like, oh, will everything work out the way it should? So we want to make sure GRE, best ways to study and prepare, perfect. So for the GRE, as I'm seeing if it'll let Casey on, yeah, that's cool. All right. So for the GRE, one of the biggest things that we teach, especially students that are in our coaching program, is error-based preparation. So really, what it means is this: I think a lot of times when we struggle with the GRE, the reason is because we don't know like what our personal weaknesses are. So what ends up happening is we end up kind of going all over the place, right? So say I relate. If you're kind of like, man, like I feel like, shoot, with the GRE, I'm working hard, but it isn't really working out. It isn't adding up. It isn't. I'm not like, it's not like I don't feel more confident, right? Like I'm like, yo, like I'm looking at this book for 2 hours a day or 1 hour a day, but for some reason it's not matching up. So for the GRE, here's what's been a drastic game changer. I was actually talking to one of our students that applied this yesterday morning, and she was like, yo, I saw a massive jump from, I think she went from a 143 in her quantitative to, I think, close to a 150. And what she did is, okay, so my weakness is math. So the first thing is figuring out what my weakness is. And the best way, for those of y'all that are like, how do I even figure that out? The best way to figure that out is to take a practice test. So figure out what your weaknesses are. And that's the first step. All right. So say understood in the chat if you're like, you know what? Like that part makes sense. All right. That part makes sense. Um, Casey, I see you, brother. I see you, but it's not letting me add you on here. So uh hopefully we can figure this out, man. But for those of y'all that are like, I need to figure out where to start with the GRE first, that's the first step. Let me figure out where my weakness is, whether it's math, whether it's quantitative, whether it's verbal, but do not guess. Don't guess, because when you guess, you start to assume. You're like, well, I'm already bad at math. I'm already bad at vocab or whatever. And so you assume, and assumptions lead to you kind of thinking you're studying things that you should be focusing on, but in reality, it's not specific enough. So that's the first step. Figure out where your weaknesses are. You do that with a practice test. All right. Next thing is figuring out why those are your weaknesses. Like, because it could be a number of different things. It could be the fact that I don't know the material, right? It could be the fact that I know the material, but for some reason, when I test or during the practice exam or during the real thing, I get nervous or I get anxious or I overthink it. Those are two different reasons why I'm getting the question wrong. But nonetheless, I'm getting the question wrong. And what typically goes wrong is a lot of people that struggle with the GRE. The issue is the fact that when they get the question wrong, they're like, oh, I got to study harder. Like say that's me. If you're like, man, like whenever I get something wrong, I just feel like I just have to study harder. And that's where we end up wasting a lot of energy, and that's where we end up wasting a lot of focus time. And as a student, we can't put ourselves in a good position if that's the case. And so when it comes to figuring out what your problem is, then ask yourself, why is that my problem? And that's usually where, if you're like, hey, I'm still having a hard time figuring that out, it's a good idea to have someone that helps you, whether it's a tutor or a coach or mentor, whatever it is, somebody else that's just good at being able to tell you why you're getting it wrong. But once you figure that out, then that's how you structure your study strategy. So, for example, if I'm getting a certain type of question wrong because, well, I actually understand it, but for some reason it's not actually correlating to the actual exam, then the way I prepare for it is by figuring out, okay, am I overthinking it? Am I second guessing my answer? Have I not practiced it enough, especially with math? Like, one of the big things is we study it and we think we understand it, but we're not actually practicing it enough to actually master it so that by the time we're on the real exam, it's like muscle memory. Does that make sense? Same way with sports, right? I can know how to dribble a basketball. I can know how to shoot a basketball. But have I actually done that enough times to actually show up to a real game and know that under pressure, I can actually do that? So when it comes to the GRE, those are the levels. And then within that, now that's honestly what allows you to actually create a study strategy that matches you. Because that's I think where many of us get stressed. We're like, man, like I tried this study plan, I tried that study plan. That's like, it's if it's generalized, it'll just work for some people, and it might not work for others, right? And if it doesn't work for you, that doesn't mean that you're like less equipped. It doesn't mean that you're less capable. It doesn't mean that you're not smart enough. And I think that's what we feel. But what it actually means is that it wasn't specific enough to helping you expose why you're struggling on it. So that's the biggest thing with the GRE. If you want more help with that, just send us a message, email us, go to preptgrind@preptgrind.com, send us an email. A great training is preptsecrets.com. That's always a great free training that'll help you get some clarity. But yeah, let me know if that was clear. But that's the best way to prepare for the GRE, just so that it's like focused on you and it's helping you figure out the stuff that you're struggling with. Otherwise, what ends up happening is you just drain energy, and then you end up thinking that you're not good, or you end up thinking that you're never going to be good at standardized tests. And for most of us, like, we were never, like, shoot, I was never good at standardized tests, like, period. So I was one of those students that thought, well, it's just me, right? What GPA do most schools look at, cumulative or prerequisite? So first thing is, every school is a little different. For the most part, prerequisite always holds more weight for the most part. That's just because it shows how you dealt with the harder classes. So whether it was your chemistries, your biologies, your physics, and whatnot. And so because of that, that's what schools look at and say, oh, cool, like that student performed a certain way for their harder classes. So PT schools got a lot of hard classes. So this student now they can use that to say, hey, we feel like you're actually ready for the intensity of PT school. And so that's why. And cumulative GPA just basically has everything. So some of that stuff is easy, some of that stuff's hard, some of that stuff doesn't even relate to what you're trying to do as a student. So that's the difference. But I would always spend time understanding what the schools individually want. So I think sometimes when we look at applying, we look at it generally instead of figuring out what does each school specifically want. So let me know if that was a clear answer. And y'all, keep the questions coming. Keep the questions coming. What's PT school? Phenomenal question. So PT school is physical therapy school. So for students that actually want to become physical therapists, which is a type of medical professional that deals with movements to help people get better without using a lot of pain, without using pain medications or injections or surgeries or whatnot. And so PT school is the schooling that students will have to go through to actually become a physical therapist. So if you want to research it on Google, it's pretty cool. And if you ever want to be a PT, then it's a cool profession. What can I do to make up for low GPA on my app? Yo, y'all are coming in hot with the questions. I love it. So, what can I do to make up for low GPA on my application? So, here's the first thing. The first thing is, one, what do you see as low GPA? Two, what does the schools that you're applying to, what do they consider to be a low GPA, right? Because a low GPA, I could look at a 3.2 and think, oh, that's a lower GPA if I'm comparing it to my classmate, right? Or I can look at a 2.8 and think that's a low GPA when I compare it to people that I'm seeing online or on threads or whatnot. What really matters is what the schools you're applying to are looking at. Does that make sense? So for example, if I'm applying to a school that looks at a lower, they accept a lower cumulative GPA, but look at a higher prerequisite GPA, then I just have to make sure, like that actually matches up, like those numbers actually match up with where I'm at. And if they don't, then I have to ask myself, can I change that? Like, can I retake classes? That's kind of where we go down that path. We've had students that have started with 2.7, 2.4s, 2.8s, but I think students hear that and they're like, oh, I can make it by with a low GPA. No. Those students just researched the schools that they felt they could show up at their best for based off of what they had in front of them. And then they controlled what they could control, whether that was retaking classes for their prereqs and so on and so forth. So let me know if that's clear. Yeah, good question though. But that's how you can make up for your low GPA on your application, is making sure that it matches what the schools are looking for individually, because every school is different. Y'all look at each school kind of like a different person. They all have different desires, different priorities, and all that stuff, and that's what will allow you to make sure that you're showing up at the best, like as your best for the schools that are appropriate for you. Like I've seen students get into school with 2.7 GPAs and students getting rejected from PT school with a 3.4. It's just a matter of where am I applying, what am I controlling, and what are they seeing on the other side. So once again, if you want to learn how to do that, I mean, a good free training is preptsecrets.com. It literally lays all of that out for you and more. So solid question. How much do PTs make in New York City? I would Google that because I live in Florida. So I would Google that. Every state's a little different, but it also depends on what scope of PT, whether they're outpatient PT, acute care, all of the different spaces in PT make different general incomes, I guess. If they're private practice or they're a big corporation, those all make a difference. But I would look on Google and just see what the generals are, and then if you want to work there, then go for it. I think that's amazing. Lower in comparison to PT CAS reported averages. If I'm in lower than average, should I bother applying? Good question. So let's also understand that PT CAS calculates everything together, right? So PT CAS basically gives you a general GPA for everything. So that basically means that they're averaging everything all together. Now, the schools may also do that, but they may also look at your GPA specifically. Sorry, they may also look at your GPA from the perspective of the best grades that you had. So, for example, if I took Bio 1, right, and I got a D the first time I did Bio 1, then I was like, yo, I need to like raise that grade. So I retook that class and I actually got an A the second time. So the way PT CAS looks at it is they average those two grades out. So now my grade might be around that C plus, B minus range, right? But if a school also averages it out, then yes, it'll match up with what PT CAS did. But if a school says, which a lot of schools also look at the highest grade, if a school says, no, we actually look at the highest grade. So if you retook it, we'll actually just look at the A. So forget the D. Yes, we will calculate that as part of your cumulative GPA, but for your prerequisite GPA, we'll actually look at the A. Right now, your GPA actually changes. So just be aware of what the school is actually going to see as opposed to what you see on PT CAS. Does that make sense? Because once you know what the school is going to see, then you're able to say, oh, okay, based off of what the schools want, based off of what this specific school wants, for their cumulative GPA, for their prereq GPA. Now that I've calculated it specifically for this school, am I still a good match for the program? Because if I'm not, then it's like, okay, do I pick a different program? Okay, are there things that I need to change, and maybe next year is a better year to apply? Then that's when we visit those questions. But I think we jump to that one, like we jump to the idea of applying the following cycle too quickly before actually figuring out like where we stand in relation to the schools, like that school's standards. Does that make sense? So I hope that makes sense. But the reason why I'm telling you this is because it actually empowers y'all. So if I got a C plus and A and P and retake and got a D, is that okay? Yeah, that's good. Just make sure though, like everything y'all, the theme for tonight, and I think this is where the power for y'all is going to come from. Always see the perspective of the individual school you're applying to. So if that individual school looks at the highest retakes, cool. If that specific school tells you these are our average or minimum GPAs, cool, play to that. And then when you guys apply, now you're making sure that you're actually meeting all the things they're looking for, right? And when you do that, you're a lot less likely to get disappointed. So sometimes I see students applying to like 10 or 15 schools and they're just thinking, oh, well, I think I'm good. And then what happens is they end up getting 4 or 5, 6 schools saying you didn't even qualify because you didn't meet our minimums, which means that I just wasted money applying. So when you can get specific, then all of a sudden you, like as a student, I just want y'all to know that you guys actually have the ability to have control over your application by knowing how all the pieces work. And so let me know if that makes sense. All right. So how important is the GRE? For some schools, it's important. For some schools, they don't even look at it. Some schools will tell you straight up, they don't look at it. But for the schools that do, they basically look at it as a way to kind of, it's not a really good determining factor, but many of them are thinking about the board exam you have to take at the end of PT school, and they're like, oh shoot, okay, well, so the GRE, they crushed it, so we feel like they're going to have the tools necessary to crush their board exam. And so that's the school's way of basically having an insurance policy to make sure that the students that they're putting through their program will actually get licensed afterwards, right? And so that's the school's thing because it affects their numbers. We also have to know what the school's, fears are. And that's one of them. So for the schools that do say, hey, we require the GRE and these are the scores we want, that's the reasoning behind it. So that's it. I love that. Good luck. I'm sure you'll get in. Love that perspective. Would a 3.4 help me get into PT school? I'm just literally like the answer I've been giving with the school specificity is the key because, like I was saying before, like we've seen students that have had a 3.4 that have gotten rejected, and it's just because they applied to a school that did not match where they were at. And we still had schools that, and we've had students that we've coached that have had a 2.7 and they've gotten into multiple programs, but it's because they were like, wait, all these schools actually look at GPAs differently. Some schools actually have a minimum of like a 2.7. Some schools have a minimum of like a 3.2. Whoa, okay. Am I actually applying to schools that look at the stats that I have favorably? So that 3.4 can certainly get you into PT school. Make sure though that you're looking at the schools you're applying to. And if you want help with that, obviously reach out to us. And of course, if you're like, hey, I want like a blueprint that'll help me navigate through this thing step by step, go to preptsecrets.com. We literally did a series there that broke all this stuff down. It's all the stuff that we weren't taught that'll help you guys become strong applicants. So I love it. So I love the questions, by the way. Keep them coming. How risky would it be to apply to a new program that's still applying for accreditation? So it depends on where they are in the process. So I would just ask the school how far along they are. So there's, if you look this up, you'll find it. But schools that have basically qualified for like candidacy is what it's called, have basically kind of met all the requirements. What they're typically waiting for is for that program to graduate their first PT school class, and then after that, they're accredited. So if they've gotten that far and they're they've gotten past the candidacy stage, then you're pretty much good. There's like no risk, like little to no risk. But if they're not there yet, then I would ask the school directly what their process is, how confident they feel. Just ask them directly. Like they actually value that. I think sometimes we're nervous to ask those questions because we feel like they'll be rude. But in reality, they actually like value that because they'll be honest with you about where they're at in the process. And then based off of that, if they're still early on in the process, then you just have to ask yourself, is that worth the risk, right? Would I rather go to a school that is accredited or is well on their way to being accredited? So that's where the risk comes in. It's just a matter of knowing what candidacy is and whether or not they have hit that like milestone, I guess. And if they've gotten past that point, then you're pretty much good to go. All right. All right. PTCast gives the option of explaining how grades don't reflect you. How would you suggest going about that? So, phenomenal question. So, one of the things that I love to teach students is always always answer questions from a perspective that shows how you've been able to still like overcome obstacles. So here's what I mean, right? It's very easy to answer that question and say, well, I know I'm I know I could have done better, but my freshman year, I had, I got injured. My sophomore year, I got really sick. My junior year, something happened to a family member. While all those things are super like real and they would definitely take time away, you actually want to flip it because what that is it's true, but it's not showing them why they should like it's going to sound bad, but it's true, right? It's not telling the school why they should still accept you in their program. So here's how I would answer it. I would say, well, my sophomore year. So for example, let's say your sophomore year was just terrible, right? Okay, it's like just be honest. Be like, well, the answer is no. It does not reflect, my capabilities, right? And so sophomore year, I was still confused. I had not even chosen a career path. And this is just an example, right? I had not chosen a career path, and so I was just all over the place, right? Junior year is when I actually decided to become a physical therapist, and since then I've been locked in. So since then, my grades have been A, B, C. I've had straight A's or A's and B's, or I've been able to do A. I've been like my last 60 credits is 3.5. Basically show them how even though you struggled initially, now despite that, my overall GPA clearly doesn't show what I'm capable of because it still accounts for that sophomore year. It still accounts for those 2 years that didn't go as well. But I'm showing you that I've actually still like I've been resilient. So now when you flip it that way, you're still able to show them what you've done to now become the version of yourself that you are now. Then they're saying, oh, that makes sense. And more importantly, the version of you that we're getting now in our program, we actually think you can handle PT school. So now they'll actually be more apt to, saying, hey, we actually want to interview you or actually get to know you more. And then they can potentially, decide to accept you into their program or not. So that is how that works when it comes to talking about how your grades don't reflect you. Does that make sense? So let me know if that answer made sense because that's such a key difference. Basically, avoid talking about how everything was so difficult and show how you were still able to overcome even though things were difficult. So you're not ignoring it and you're not making anything up, but you're acknowledging it while showing I've still been able to do this. Like show your resilience, show the characteristics that actually make them attracted to you as an applicant. When you do that, then they're actually more likely to say, oh, shoot, okay, cool. We want this student in our program. So perfect. All right. I just finished massage therapy school with a GPA above a 3.7. Would I qualify for PT school? First of all, well done with finishing with a 3.7. Way to absolutely kill it. So, how you would know if you apply for if you qualify for PT school is a matter of knowing whether or not you've met the certain requirements or not. So, what I would do is go on PTCast, so ptcast.org, and basically you can see what schools require, right? So, there's certain classes that schools require. So, those are prerequisite classes. Ask yourself, have I actually done those? And if I have, cool. Other requirements, some schools look at the GRE. Like, so for the basic requirements, I would just look on Google and just see what are the requirements to get into PT school or to apply to PT school. And if you have those checked off and you have a 3.7 and now, yeah, you can most certainly be ready to apply to PT school or at least be well on your way to doing so. But I would just make sure that you've actually met those things because if you have, then you're going to be good to go. So let me know if that is clear. But well done with the 3.7. That's amazing. Y'all keep the questions coming. All right. So I'm an athletic training student. right now wanting to go into PT. Any advice for applications for a PT as an athletic trainer? So applying as an athletic trainer, it's pretty much the same as most students for the most part. So here's where the magic kind of comes in. So the magic comes in. You're more than welcome, by the way. So the magic comes in the parts where, whether it's your essay, whether it's your PT school interview, whether it's your experiences, right? You're using your experience as an athletic trainer to kind of showcase some of those elements, right? And the best place to do that is your PT Cast essay, your supplemental essays, your interview, maybe having one of your letters of recommendation being from someone that's actually like seeing you as an athletic training student, right? So when you can use those experiences that way, then that's what will help you like kind of shine, because it's showing how that experience as an athletic training student has actually impacted or bettered you as a potential applicant for a PT school. But outside of that, everything else is fairly standard. The biggest key for all of y'all that are listening to this right now is asking yourself, how crystal clear am I right now on my next steps? So that's the part where I think we all get overwhelmed, is we're like, oh, let me just retake the GRE. Let me just retake classes. I think a lot of times we don't realize that there's an actual like process to figuring out, oh, like these are the next steps. Okay. Okay. Now I feel more confident because I know what I should be doing. Now I actually have the ability to ask, specific questions like, oh man, I still need to, do well on the GRE. Okay. Now I'm really struggling with the quantitative section. Okay. Now I can ask specific questions about why, and how to actually get better at the things that I'm struggling with. If it's low GPA, okay, I'm trying to retake classes. Will my cumulative GPA affect me? Now I can ask specific questions. So if you guys are looking for that clarity, like I said, I think I've been saying it a lot tonight, but preptsecrets.com literally will lay it all out for you. It's a video that Casey and I did to just make it simple for y'all, to make it super straightforward. It's free as well. So hey, if you're looking for clarity, I would go there right after this, or shoot right now. Hope that was clear. What should you major in when going to college from high school? Honestly, you can major in anything. You can major in you can do health science. You could do whatever you want. That's one of the cool things about being going down the path of physical therapy. In fact, I was actually telling my wife this recently, because my wife is a psychologist. I was telling her that if I could go back in time, I would have actually loved to do a psych degree, a psychology degree, but still go the physical therapy route. So the reason is because I actually love how the mind works. It's just me. It's just like a preference I have, right? So I love how the mind works. So and I see it now with patients that I have, how literally like everything is all about knowing how, like in terms of habits and fears, and just knowing how the brain works and how we respond, anxiety, all those different things. And I feel like that would just literally been amazing, right? So I could have done that, right? And so you could do pretty much anything. Just make sure that as you're doing that degree, and make it something you actually want. Then make sure that you're still taking the classes that you're actually needing to take, whether it's prerequisite classes, like as long as I'm meeting the standard classes, and this is where it's good to have, someone that can sit with you and just break that down for you. As long as I'm meeting the classes that I need, that the schools are looking for by the time I graduate or by the time I apply, then I'm still good, but I can still do, whatever minor or major that I want to do. So let me know if that makes sense. And then also just remember, don't take hard classes just because you want to. Just if it's chemistry, don't go over the top. Just take the chemistry you need. If it's physics, just take the physics you need, because sometimes we take the super hard ones and they end up like bringing our grades lower, and now it starts to affect your GPA. So hope that was clear. All right. So let's see. I'm an incoming first year PT student. Any tips for ooh? So first year PT student. So first thing I would say is find 2 or 3 people that you can rock with hard. When I was a PT student, that was one of the best things that I did, which was finding. I called it my little super team. So it was just two students that I always studied with. We always kept each other accountable. When I didn't understand something, they understood it, and whatnot. And I think the other thing that I would say is uh find like milestones for yourself or ways to have fun, maybe once like every weekend. Find something that you're looking forward to, or find something that you're actually like, because it helps you kind of get through the intensity of PT school. But find things that you're actually like, hey, in 2 weeks we're actually gonna, spend the day at the beach, or in two, like find things like that to kind of get yourself through. But I think between that and the people that you're with in PT school, making sure you have a core that you're able to like super rely on each other, that'll help you get through. And then the rest of it, you'll learn as you go. But those are the two things that I would say as a first year will help you drastically. All right. Let's see. Should I retake my prereqs that I have season? My rule of thumb is if it's a C or lower, retake it. Simple as that. Especially because it's a prereq, and prereqs are like, it's easier to change your prerequisite GPA because it's out of a much smaller set of classes as opposed to your cumulative GPA, which is 100 plus, credits worth of classes, right? So because it's not as many classes, it changes your prereq GPA drastically. Like if I have three C's and I take all of them and they all become A's, my prereq GPA is going to like shift so much, right? And that's one of the things that I always talk about, which is control the things that you can control. And because that's one of the GPAs that I can really control drastically, then I say yes, please retake it. Let's see. I have a serious question. How do you deal with toxic family dynamic when you're trying to better yourself? Whoa, that's a really good question. So, um, first thing is, because I could talk, like literally, I could talk for the next like 30 minutes on this. How do you deal with toxic family dynamic? So first thing is figuring out, and I'm wondering, is this in relation to applying to school? Is this in relation to you bettering yourself as a professional? Either way, regardless of what context it's in, it's first of all figuring out how to, like separate yourself from it. So whether that's like distance from conversation. So what I did a lot of times is I just didn't talk about certain things with my family. So for me, I had some of those situations when I was trying to better myself career wise, I guess, right? And so I just didn't have certain dialogues, like certain conversations. Like PT school was not a conversation when I was going through PT school, mainly because I had family members that were not about it. They thought I was doing, I was making a huge mistake, right? So I just didn't talk to them about it, because the more we talked about it, the more I was giving them an opportunity to basically kind of criticize, what I was doing, and that obviously brought my energy down. But whatever it is, find a way to distance yourself. If you can't do it physically, figure out how to structure your day and time so that you don't have to engage with those things. But then also ask yourself, and this is a key one. So whenever I'm struggling, am I also going to those like to those family members? So for example, like a lot of times when family members are kind of reflecting certain things that I don't like want, or there's something, like it's creating a lot of second guessing. Sometimes it's because we're also telling them the difficult things that we're experiencing. So for example, when it came to PT school, a lot of times, students tell me, hey, like, how do I deal with my parents telling me, to quit pursuing PT, or to find a backup plan or whatnot? And the big part for that is honestly, let me see. Yeah, I guess the culture doesn't allow for individualism, and then I'm the enemy. Oh, I understand that too well. So I'm from East Africa originally. So I completely understand that. Um, so so the first part is, yes, distance yourself. I think that the second part, and I think this is the more important part, is if you try that and it doesn't work, then, and this was the hardest part for me, and like I said, I could talk about this for a while. It is being okay with having the difficult conversation with that person. Don't do it one to many. So if that's your parents, for example, if that is like, if it's friends or whatever, you can distance yourself. If it's like siblings, okay, I mean that's different. If it's your parents or someone like family that's like close to you and whatnot, then it's actually okay to have a very respectful conversation. You understand the culture, so you understand, what's respectful, right? And so like being able to have difficult conversations. One of the best quotes that I've ever heard is that freedom is on the other side of difficult conversations. So if I'm feeling overwhelmed, chances are they don't know that, right? So I can, and I'm telling you, this probably sounds crazy, right? Because when I did it for the first time, about 3.5 years ago, for the first time, it like I almost vomited. Like I don't think I ate for like like 12 hours beforehand because I was just so nervous, right? But those conversations have created some very healthy dynamics years later. And so me and stuff like, okay, it's so yeah, like difficult conversations. So being able to like talk to them, like if there's something they're saying to you, then being able to say, hey, like I love you, and this is why I want us to talk about this because I want our relationship to be, A, B, C, and D. I want it to be better, and just share with them what you've been experiencing. And when you can do that, it'll either sever the relationship, but you've actually done something super, super admirable, and most people are afraid to do. But number two, it could actually do the thing that you might not expect, and it might actually improve it. And at first, they might feel hurt or they might feel like it's against the culture or whatnot. But what it might do is it might actually create some time or the ability for growth and change. And you might actually notice a massively different dynamic. But nonetheless, if there's no ability to separate or figure out like whether it's physically or whatnot, or the ability to actually have that conversation, then you're going to be the one that keeps kind of suffering within that. So those are the biggest things that I would say. And then it's also never a bad idea to talk to, like a professional that just like helps people work through these things all the time. But once you do that, there will be a lot of freedom on the other side, and rooting for you in that transition. And I hope everything works out the way that you want it to, because it's draining, it's exhausting, it's draining, to not be able to do those things. And as you're trying to better yourself, you are venturing into something new. You're venturing into something they haven't done, whether it's career wise, whether it's personally. It's brand new. Yeah, 100%. I think I'm going to talk to someone to kind of maneuver it. Yeah. It's exhausting. It's exhausting, and also think about it this way. So here's what I think about when I'm not at my best. If I'm not able to address it, when I'm not at my best, who suffers? So right now I'm married and I have a son. So if I'm not at my best, they're the first to suffer, right? Like they are going to be the first to suffer in regards to getting the worst of me, right? When I'm not at my best, the clients that I have, or the patients that I have, or the students that we serve, they're going to suffer because they're not going to get they might not get any of me, like any of me, right? So what's actually happening is when I'm not able to address those things and get help with those things, it's actually like all the energy that I'm trying to use to actually better myself or to work hard towards my goals is actually taken away. So yeah, talking to someone is going to be an amazing, amazing, amazing decision. And like I said, hoping for the best. You're going to crush it, and feel free to message us afterwards and let us know how things are going. What are your thoughts or advice on being a minority in the PT field, healthcare field? From what perspective? So, I mean, like y'all are asking some deep questions, and I love it. I like deep questions. So, my perspectives on being a minority. So I can go a few different directions. So, my perspective is that as someone, you're more than welcome. As someone that is obviously a minority, I think it's powerful when, if you're a minority and you're in the profession, it's powerful when you continue to show other people that relate to you that it's possible for them to, right? So let me just talk as a black man, right? So as a black man, like I understand that in the physical therapy profession, there is it's like 10% or less, right, of black physical therapists. And I also know that because of that, it's very easy for someone that looks like me to say, hey, like I don't see other PTs that look like me, right? So for me, I'm like, shoot, I got to put myself out there. I got to make sure that other future physical therapists that are considering the profession that look like me are able to see, oh wow, like someone that looks like me. And y'all, it's the same with everybody. Like we always like get inspired by someone that we relate with. It might be appearance wise, it might be, maybe where they're from, or it's like, hey, I'm from Florida. Oh shoot, somebody from, like we always love relating with other people. So I think as a minority in the profession, I think one of the cool things is being able to use platforms like TikTok or Instagram or Facebook to actually like serve and show other people that it's actually possible, so that they can also be inspired. And if that's their calling too, shoot, they can do it too. And I think also with patients, I think it's amazing because it just shows a lot of like y'all, like we serve such such a diverse population when it comes to patients. Like, okay, Black women, right? So finding you guys has inspired me so much. Being a Black woman, wow. Well, that means a lot. That means a whole lot. So now you get a chance to do the same thing. Now you get to be the face for somebody else, right? But for the patients that we serve, hey, they're all diverse, and so we also need to all be diverse so that they can also see a reflection of themselves as they're getting care. So those are my thoughts. But I could always get deep. I could always get deep. But I think like in this day and age, it's such a blessing to have social media, to have the internet, to have the ability for me to sit right now. I'm in my office right now, in my house, right? So it's like for me to sit right here, we're just chatting, right? We're just talking. Like this is such a blessing. And then because of that, you can constantly inspire other people that look like you. And then one day they'll be you, and then they'll inspire somebody else, and it'll just continue going like that. So yeah, I hope that makes sense. Let me know if y'all have any other questions. I'm trying to see if I saw any others. Let me know if y'all have any other questions. I will be more than happy to answer them. If not, no worries at all. But hope y'all have been enjoying this live Q&A session. Casey usually does one on Sunday nights. I'll start hopping on here a little bit more as well to do some live Q&As. But y'all just keep going. I think one of the most beautiful things that I've just learned is that nothing. It sounds cheesy, but y'all, like, nothing is out of reach, right? So whether it's career, whether it's goals, like none of it is out of reach. I think what happens though is when we struggle, we end up doubting ourselves and we quit. So even with applying to PT school, the only way you don't get into PT school is if you pull the plug and quit. And so our job is to help you not quit. Our job is to help you keep fighting for what you want. And then also remembering that the people around you have different goals and expectations of you, but only you can know what you really feel fulfilled by. And so be true to that. And even as you're struggling, say, okay, I'm not going to give up on the thing that I'm called to doing. I'm going to figure out how to make it work. Like, I'm going to figure out like who do I need to ask? Who do I need to get help from? And if you guys can do that, then oh my, like how much more inspiring will you be for your patients, right? Aren't your parent like aren't your future patients, coming in struggling with pain that they've had for years or weeks or months, and now they're sitting in front of someone that's actually been resilient along their journey, someone that's actually kept fighting along their journey, someone that has not pulled the plug. That's you, right? So the more you start to realize that everything you want is super possible, becoming a physical therapist is possible for every single one of y'all. That's why pre-PT grind exists. Like, when we started this thing, we did it because so many students literally thought it was impossible. They were like, well, some students have a leg up. I don't. I guess they got a shot. I don't, right? And that's not how it works. That's not how it works. And so I just don't want y'all to give up on your dream. And I also want y'all to, be that face, be the example for the people that you will serve. And when you don't give up on you, it's actually harder for you to give up on other people. So you're actually going to like fight for them more. You're going to push them more. You're going to inspire them more because you know what it looks like to keep going until you get what you desire. So you're more than welcome, by the way. So but that is it. So if that is all, then I believe we are good. Let me see. All right. So that is it. So hope y'all have an absolutely amazing rest of your evening. We will talk soon. I'll try to hop on here more and just answer questions and just serve you guys. But y'all, that's why Pre-PT Grind is here. And like I said, go to preptsecrets.com if you're like, hey, I just need something that gives me some clarity, guidance, direction, helps me figure out all the stuff that I'm not understanding, and just puts me on a straight path to being the best version of myself as an applicant. Then go there. We lay it out for you. But outside of that, just tune in, keep listening, keep gaining value, and we'll talk more. Y'all have a good one. Much love.